Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to dive into everything boundaries because this was something that I struggled with for a really long time. I had absolutely no idea when someone was violating a boundary, when someone was testing a boundary, didn't know really what my standards were. And even if I did and I knew something that felt uncomfortable or wasn't okay, I didn't really know what to do about it because I feared confrontation and I didn't even know how to enforce my boundaries. So let's start with the basics. Boundaries are your standards. They are what you will and will not do. And sometimes this is hard to spot because you haven't been programmed, you haven't been brought up being very hyper focused on what you think and how you're feeling. It doesn't mean that you're completely oblivious to your boundaries or you have absolutely no idea when someone is going too far. But if you aren't healthy, then what you're gonna end up doing is just being reactive. And the reason why this happens is because there's been multiple times where a person was violating a boundary, going too far, and the victim or the other person didn't stand up for themselves, didn't enforce a boundary, didn't communicate. And so it just builds and builds resentment within yourself, anger, frustration, and then you explode. When you are hyper focused on other people, when you fear confrontation and you don't even know how to verbally communicate, those are all survival tactics. You being programmed to walk on eggshells is just a way to survive a toxic relationship, an unhealthy environment that you were probably in for a very long time, had absolutely no idea, and this just became like your default. And now this is just what you do with everyone else in your life. I'm gonna tell you, there are definitely 5 things that happen when you have absolutely no idea that a boundary has been violated. First of all, you have absolutely no self-awareness. You might have awareness, but you have awareness of other people, not of your own self. Self-awareness is your ability to stop and pause and assess what's happening around you to determine what you should do about it. You cannot understand what makes you uncomfortable, what makes you stressed, what doesn't feel okay if you don't have a connection to your own self. And the only way you can have a connection with your own self is through self-awareness. You can't really do anything about how you feel anyways, even if you have that level of self-awareness, without confidence in yourself to be able to handle this situation. When you learn how to be healthy, you learn this like amazing balance between being there for others, but also tending to your own feelings and not feeling guilty for doing that or not letting someone else make you feel guilty for doing that. A lot of people have an unknowing fear of rejection and conflict. This is because as you were growing up, anytime you brought something up, someone dismissed everything that you had to say, or it just became this like huge debate argument where maybe they were trying to gain control over the conversation and make you think something different. Over time, this creates like this pattern of fear that you have to be able to talk to other people about what your needs are, what your thoughts are. So you learn to basically just ignore any intuition that's telling you, hey, this feels off. You were also supposed to learn personal boundaries, and this is something that I definitely didn't learn growing up. When my mother wanted to walk in my room, she walked right in. She never knocked, and there wasn't any kind of personal space that I had, regardless of living under my parents' roof. Most parents do not respect their kids, and when a young child or teenager maybe starts to feel a little disrespected, rightfully so, not when there's rules that are being placed. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you just did feel disrespected, like you didn't have personal space, there were no boundaries, you eventually learn to just like ignore that. Ignore that like little voice that was saying, hey, this doesn't feel good, this feels off. As a kid, when you felt something and you told your parents, were your parents receptive to how you feel, or did they make you feel bad for feeling the way you did? Did they tell you that you shouldn't feel that way? Those are little things that over time allow a person to not trust themselves, to not feel comfortable with actually expressing themselves. There was absolutely not a lot of empathy and understanding for parents years ago for their children, for what the child was actually feeling and going through. Now, the crappy thing is that this happens to pretty much everyone. The severity of how often it happens and the situations that each child is in and each person is in is completely different, but everyone has traumas and wounds that they've been through throughout the course of their life, not just childhood. And if you don't learn how those things are affecting you today, I say this all the time, then you are going to be controlled by your programming, by your wounds. And that's why we're here right now. So let's get into what a narcissist will actually do, or a person, unhealthy person, narcissistic person, whoever, what they will actually do that will test your boundaries. A big thing with boundaries, and I think this is the first go-to for any person who's looking to kind of take advantage, is guilt. They will absolutely try to make you feel guilty for saying no. They will point out all the times that they made a sacrifice for you and how you should be making now a sacrifice for them. They'll either bring up past favors that they did for you, or they might even, honestly, start getting emotional. They do this because they want you to see the tears, they want you to see the sad face, and they want you to feel responsible for why they're feeling what they're feeling. I think we can all sit here and say that we've at least experienced all of that. This person might, and this is something that I've experienced so many times, they will push for an answer right away because they don't want you to have time to even think about it. They want to just push and push, so you will feel this uncomfortable feeling, this tension that I need to make a decision and just make a decision quickly. Instead of going the nasty route, they could very easily go down the compliments route. You're amazing, you're better at this than I am. They can kind of learn how to really charm you and win you over. If you are a person that really struggles with self-esteem and self-confidence, they might actually just make you feel like what you're even asking for is completely unimportant. And you might very well believe them. This is where they're starting to gaslight you. In this area, really what you're witnessing is a person that is unfazed, doesn't care about how you actually feel. There is no coming to a common ground about what's fair for everyone. No, it's nothing like that whatsoever. And the more I push you, the more I make you feel uncomfortable, the more I make you feel guilty, the more I make you feel like you're responsible for how I feel, and I'm feeling sad now because I'm not getting my way, is basically you're dealing with a child and you're giving into every little tantrum, every little one of these tactics that this person is giving you. So step one is you have to know when someone is testing you. You have to know when someone is either pushing or making you feel guilty or trying to manipulate or trying to gaslight. That's why I talk about this stuff all the time, because I want you to get really familiar with what this actually looks like. So when you are dealing with this person, and we all have one person that we're thinking of right now, and that's why we even clicked on this video, is because we're trying to learn how to deal with this one personality that's maybe very forceful, maybe very witty, maybe very pushy. And maybe sometimes you get overwhelmed in this situation, or you feel like you're being taken advantage of and you don't even know what to do. I'm going to tell you, there's some things that you need to start doing, and each one of these things takes practice. Because remember, no matter how much you practice this stuff or listen to this and take notes and okay, I'm going to do this, and then you have no idea what this person is going to say next or what they're going to do next and how that's going to make you feel. Absolutely start with clear communication. Clear communication means that I'm going to state what you're doing and that it's making me feel uncomfortable. You can definitely start with even telling someone exactly what you wanted them to do or what you think is acceptable for them to do. But they may not listen to you. They very well might. You might be dealing with a fairly healthy person that says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had absolutely no idea that I was even doing that. Absolutely, I'll do that going forward. Thank you for letting me know. And you have this good relationship with them where maybe they just didn't even realize what they were doing. But most people are probably not going to be excited that now all of a sudden you have clear communication and you're starting to call them out when they're pushing or making you feel guilty or whatever that is. The next is being assertive and being consistent. Those are probably the biggest things. And being assertive is not about yelling and screaming and stating your boundaries. No, it's just about repeating. It is just about consistency. It's just about repetition. Sometimes we got to say it again and again in order for someone to learn. Assertiveness is one thing, and consistency is a little bit different, because what I mean by consistency is not necessarily just consistency in this one situation. It's that you have to understand you're starting to train this person on what they cannot do. So that is going to take some consistency, because maybe for this example, in this situation, they listen to you, they respect you, and then we're good to go. But maybe a different situation, they're tiptoeing on that line. Or maybe they didn't really listen to you at all and you have to enforce a boundary there. But guess what? They're going to test you again tomorrow regarding something else, and you're going to have to do this process all over again. The enforcing of boundaries. So I'm going to give you 2 words that really just signify enforcing boundaries. Consequence, and maybe not just one word, a little phrase, follow through. There has to be an understanding that if this continues, there's going to be a consequence for it. what is the consequence? Sometimes the consequence is just that I'm ending this conversation, that I will no longer be continuing this conversation, and now I'm going to be walking away. You can very well walk away from someone. You can very well go silent. You can very well hang up the phone. You just have to state before what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I'm going to hang up the phone now because I've asked you a few times to blah, 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 and you continue to do blah, blah, blah. And so I don't appreciate that. And now I'm going to be ending this conversation. When you're ready to have a conversation, please give me a call. I would love to talk to you about it. Done. You're not going silent. You're not being passive aggressive. You're actually completely stating what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Problem is, most people don't do this. Most people just circle around with arguing, with I want you to agree with me, I want you to see my side of this, like, how can you think I'm being difficult when all I'm asking for is this? And you get caught up in that drama, which is what we're completely trying to avoid. We're not going there anymore and doing that. And this video will give you the 1, 2, 3 that you can start practicing when you're dealing with this person going forward, because it's going to take some practice. I ain't gonna lie to you. But as soon as you start really getting a hang of this, the hardest thing is learning how to hold on to yourself. When you learn how to have more emotional control over when you do get triggered, when you do get frustrated or want to get reactive with this person, all bets are off. You now are in control, and the consistency becomes a lot easier. It's the over-explaining, it's the drama, it's getting tangled in this conversation with you. That's really the unhealthy part regarding you that we're trying to work on. We can't change this person, but we definitely can change how they're going to interact with us through what our consistent patterns are with them. And that's what this video is about. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the things. Thanks you guys so much for tuning in this week. I'll see you in the next video. Wish you all the best.